We have a new Hunter x Hunter chapter, and this one does not mess around. Will Kurapika actually stop the succession war? Will Crawlo finally catch up to Ahsoka? Let's get into it. The chapter starts by reminding us there are 6 weeks left to reach the Dark Continent. We're on day 12, 5 hours before martial law gets declared. Last week, Kurapika laid out the truth about Kakin's empire. The succession war has a time limit. The king needs exactly one prince left standing. And on top of that, Kurapika dropped the bomb that the 14th Prince Woble isn't even eligible for the war. So what does that actually mean? What is Kurapika getting at? Well, this week we open with everyone in the room reacting to exactly that. Some of the guards are laughing it off, thinking it's a bluff. Slaka speaks up and says, hold on. You're telling me that if the lower-ranked princes just stay alive long enough to reach the Dark Continent, they're safe? And now you come out with this thing that the 14th prince isn't even valid for the succession war? You seriously expect us to just keep going with Nen lessons like nothing happened? Are you trying to mess with our heads? And Kurapika answers, I have never lied to you. The rule I mentioned about Kakin is my own deduction, but I'm completely confident it's correct. Either way, we can't afford to just sit around waiting to confirm it. I'll give you a few minutes to process what I just told you. Classes will restart at 10. I'll only continue with those who still want to be here. You're free to leave. After that, Togashi takes us back 48 hours. This is where Longi had filled Kurapika's group in on everything about Beyond Netero. Bill says he never could have imagined that someone actually managed to sneak one of his own children in among the princes. Kurapika says finding that child matters, but what's even more urgent right now is figuring out what the other cursed children of Beyond are actually after. Because that's the key to breaking the curse on Woble. That's when Oito comes up to Kurapika and tells him, look, I swear to you, I have absolutely no connection to Beyond. If you need proof, go ahead and use your Nen chains on me. But Kurapika tells her not to worry. He doesn't suspect her, and he doesn't need to verify it. Then we get this small interaction that ends up being anything but small. Kurapika calls out to the maid Shimano to go prepare lunch, but she corrects him. Her name is actually pronounced Shimanu. Bill explains that it's genuinely hard to learn Kakin pronunciation because the language has different sounds depending on whether you're referring to a man or a woman. By saying Shimano, Kurapika was essentially calling her by a male name. Once he realizes his mistake, Kurapika apologizes to her, looking genuinely embarrassed. And that's when Bill waits for Shimano to leave the room and whispers something in Kurapika's ear. Whatever Bill says hits Kurapika like a truck. He immediately goes back to Oito's room and tells her he changed his mind. It's better they actually run the chain test, just to clear everything up completely. Oito stays calm and says that's fine by her. So Kurapika uses the dowsing chain, the one on his ring finger that, as we know, detects lies. He asks Oito to answer the following questions with yes or no. Are you a man? No. Are you 2 years old? No. Are you a woman? Yes. Are you a mother? Yes. After those 4 baseline questions, Kurapika tells her that from this point on, she needs to answer yes to every single question, no matter what it is. Are you flying through the sky right now? Yes. Are you aboard a ship? Yes. Are you riding a war tank? Yes. Is your only daughter the Prince Woble? Yes. As you know, the way this works is that when Oito says yes to something that isn't true, the chain starts spinning. She's obviously not flying through the sky, so the chain reacts on that one. But then the 5th real question is where everything falls apart. Kurapika asks, is the prince sleeping in that room right now, the same baby I held in my arms 2 months ago when I was first brought in to meet you? And Oito freezes. Instead of answering yes, she just stares at Kurapika and blurts out, Woble is my baby. Kurapika tells her she needs to answer yes, but it doesn't even matter at this point. Her reaction already says everything. She asks Kurapika how he figured it out. He says it came from the conversation with Shimano just now. Well, more accurately, it was Bill who caught something. It turns out the phonetic difference between male and female sounds in Kakin makes the vowel in certain names longer for women and shorter for men. And Oito, ever since they set sail, had been alternating between both versions when saying Woble's name. She wasn't being consistent. That inconsistency is what Bill noticed. On its own, it means nothing. Nobody would ever suspect someone just from a name pronunciation. But when Shimano took the time to correct Kurapika on his mispronunciation of her own name, Bill realized it actually does matter. The reason Oito was going back and forth was deliberate. She had prepared herself in case Kurapika ever tried to interrogate her with the chains. All she'd have to say was, Woble is my child, because she knew they wouldn't catch the pronunciation detail. And now Oito confesses everything. That brings us to the final section of the chapter, where we go to Tier 2 of the ship, where Beyond is being held by the Zodiacs. You might remember that at the end of chapter 401, he had requested to see someone in his cell. Well, we finally find out who. The visitor comes in and asks to speak with Beyond alone. But the Zodiacs aren't having it. Beyond tells them it doesn't really matter if they listen in. The visitor is Cleopatra, the supreme magistrate of the ship's Tier 1 court. And what follows is a pretty dense legal and political update. Cleopatra informs Beyond that all the international demands tied to the voyage to the New World have been dropped, resolved through a plea agreement. However, the 1,047 counterclaims that Beyond himself had filed against the Empire, rejected. Every single one. Beyond can't believe not one of them was accepted. Cleopatra tells him it took months to read through all of them, but the work was done properly. Beyond fires back that Kakin has zero interest in actually improving human rights. They can't even distinguish between the concept of human beings and the people as a nation. He says that until Kakin adds an article explicitly stating that the royal family and ordinary citizens together constitute the people, they'll never earn public trust. Cleopatra hands him a massive stack of new Kakin legal records in response, essentially telling him to study up. Beyond takes the files and starts reading, not out of genuine interest, just to kill time until they reach the Dark Continent. That response visibly irritates Cleopatra, who spent months going through Beyond's filings to help him, only to hear that he was basically just keeping himself busy. It seems Beyond and Cleopatra have known each other since Cleopatra was young, which explains the unusual closeness between them. And that's chapter 412. A chapter where Togashi reveals the biggest secret Queen Oito was hiding, while Kurapika tries to figure out the best path forward. The full detailed breakdown with theories and extra analysis will be up on Sunday or Monday once the official translation is out, so stay tuned for that. In the meantime, let's talk about what this chapter actually gives us. First, the character at the end, Cleopatra, in case you don't remember them, is the supreme magistrate of Tier 1 aboard the Black Whale. Essentially the person with the most influence over legal and political decisions right now on this ship. Their job is to resolve legal disputes between the princes during the war. Worth noting that in their first appearance, Cleopatra read as female, but this conversation with Beyond is a bit ambiguous in the early translation. Either way, this was the person Beyond had requested to meet, and the purpose was to get a full legal update on where things stand with Kakin. But as Beyond makes clear, he's not really that invested. He's just waiting. Same as us, honestly. He wants to reach the Dark Continent. Something I hadn't really considered before is the idea of Kurapika going directly to Beyond. But when you think about it, after everything we now know, the cursed offerings, the fact that one of the princes is Beyond's biological child, it actually makes a lot of sense for Kurapika to finally sit down with the son of Netero and have a real conversation. The tricky part is that it's hard to imagine Beyond willingly submitting to Kurapika's chain ability to get the truth out of him. If Kurapika does end up going to the cell where the Zodiacs are holding him, I think it's going to be a short and very calculated conversation. As for the Oito reveal, after all the theories from last week, the answer ended up being the most straightforward one. The baby in that room is her sister's son. The real Woble is hidden somewhere else. What's interesting is that this actually makes Oito a smarter character than most people gave her credit for. And honestly, it tracks. Way back around chapter 350, she was the one who planted a hidden message specifically designed to attract someone sharp enough to help her. That's how Kurapika ended up in that room in the first place. Now that we know Oito is genuinely Nasubi's wife, but her biological daughter is hidden elsewhere, the possibility that Beyond could be the father is still very much on the table. When Oito was going through the chain test, she was referring to the nephew in the room, not her real daughter. So that question is still open. And if you go back and compare the two babies, the Woble that Kurapika was holding before they even set sail versus the baby currently in that room, they actually look different. Different enough that it was always two different babies. We just all assumed it was inconsistency in the artwork. That's it for today. The second video with the full breakdown drops Sunday or Monday, so keep an eye out. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Did you see the Woble twist coming? What are you expecting from the next few chapters?